Today's episode, you'll discover an inspiring art exhibition by Xiao Ma and Steffan Pollock, produced by Gabriel Sacco. They shared their feelings, their thoughts, and how it was creating this show as a team. I invite you into their world called Impossible Souls.
Sorry?
It's at Yale?
It's like nearby Yale University.
Okay. That's beautiful. Yeah.
So, I would leave you to talk to Stefan first.
He will introduce himself. Hello, how are you?
Good, good.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. So am I right that you and Xiao met through her show in Mauritius?
Yes, we
Was it
didn't
Concept,
meet.
that show?
We didn't meet.
Okay.
But I met her art.
Okay, I see, I see.
So yeah, I saw her art in January. Yeah. And I really enjoyed her show because it was unlike any other I've seen. So I was inspired and I wrote the article and I asked her, I would love to have her on the podcast in order for her to, share a bit more about her art. And she told me she's working on Impossible Souls with Steffen and Gabriel. So I said, yeah, it would be great to see more people who does art and for them to showcase their work. I created my podcast in order to, share people's work and passion and just for them to share what they do, what they love doing and how they do what they do.
Okay.
Smile told me you're not on social media. So
I am a little bit.
A
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't find a lot about your work, so maybe it's the time for you to share, like.
What's the first question again?
She was just describing what her podcast is. How
So
she
he knows a bit.
Okay, nice.
So we start?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do a little introduction for the podcast so everyone understands. So welcome on the podcast, Stefan and Smile. I'm really happy for you guys to be on the podcast so you can share a bit more about your show, which is Impossible Souls. I was telling Stefan that I met your art, Smile, in Mauritius through your exhibition, Home is a Concept. And I really enjoyed your style, your sensitivity and vulnerability. And maybe it's now the time for Stefan to introduce himself a bit more and share his art. So tell us who you are, Stefan.
Sure, okay. Okay. So yeah, my name is Steffen Pollock. Right now I'm living and working in Connecticut in the USA, on the East Coast of the USA. I think an important part of the story is how I met Xiao, which was through a mutual friend from college, and Xiao was involved in a show in New York City, and I went down there because of my friend, and we ended up connecting through that, and basically struck up a friendship, and then through the course of, we've known each other for about a year, and along the way, like in the course of the year, we started having a conversation about whether we wanted to do a show together. And my work, the work that I've been making kind of focused or came out of, I guess, my experience living in Connecticut. And I've moved around quite a bit in my life. I grew up overseas. Actually, I grew up in China, close to Beijing. And a lot of my work, I think, is about like the different places that I've lived. Somebody was asking me this question. Like, I think, some people write like breakup songs, but I kind of write like breakup songs with places, like goodbye song with places in a way. It's what I make work about my relationship with places. I think that's a big part of why I do what I do. And so a lot of this work is kind of like related to Connecticut in a way. And a big part of living in Connecticut over this past year has been like my friendship with Xiao. So that ended up being a big part of some of the work that I had been working on. And yeah, I don't know.
It's a beautiful thing what she said. It's like writing breakup art with places, and Impossible Soul is about connection with time, space, people. And I remember, Smile, you told me something. It's about, you realize that the core of all of your art shows is the connection between people. It's like it's outside of our control. It's like an invisible thread. Can you tell us more about how did that like impact your art and inspire you for the show?
Yeah, I think most of the time when I think about photography or how to hang works, I don't want I know for a fact that I don't want my photos to be on the wall. So I came up with the method of hanging them in the middle of the space with like the bars that attach to the photos and then the string that attached to the bar. That is fishing lines right now. But it didn't really start this way since the beginning. It's always been kind of a struggle trying to get things the way I want it to be. But every time I have a show, including the show in Mauritius and the show here, like I think I figure out a different way to physically like present the threads that I'm trying to talk about. Like either with photos being in the middle of the space, like not being on the wall, or the thread symbolizes like humans' relationships, or like my relationship with my audiences, like how my work relates to my viewer, and the overall theme, which has always been about places, people, and connections, wisdom. And I think, yeah, like that's like the physical, like the installation parts about the actual invisible threads. But the metaphorical part about it, I think, is this Chinese concept about like the life threads, that like this net of fate that like God or whoever that is knits, and then the threads between people eventually connect. And a way to say that is about 缘分, which is fateful coincidence if you directly translate to English. And in that concept, I think a lot is about the unplanned encounters, or just how people meet each other, or even how people meet objects, or people meeting nature, or things that does not seem to like occur, just appears in life. And I think a lot about my work, or just what I try to present to people, because when people pass by, it's always like, you know, you never know who's passing by. Is this like it's the gratefulness of all of us encountering in the end. And I think that plays a really big part. Gabe is here about my work. And yeah, that's like the more like the idealistic part about it.
Thank you.
If that answers your question.
Yes, Gabe is here.
You wanna?
Hi, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You're finally here.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes. I was saying, you are the producer behind Impossible Soul. So I would love to know, how was the process in bringing those two words together? And tell us more about what you did during the show, how it was to bring Steffen and Smile's work together.
Yeah. So I met Steffan through my last position at Art Space New Haven, which is the gallery that's producing the exhibition through me. And then Steffan introduced Xiao's work to me. And we just started talking about how these two artists are able to make work sort of reflecting off of each other. And a lot of it was not really necessarily about the visual connection between the works, but the connection that two artists have in making work together is how I saw it. So a lot of the production of the exhibition, I really had just left up to them. I want to take the role as a producer and not necessarily a curator, because I think they really took the reins in choosing the work and deciding how these things do connect. And then, you know, my role was sort of to hone the exhibition itself just a little bit and really help them to produce the work. Yeah.
Okay. If you had to describe each of one's work, what would it be? Like, how would you describe it?
Oh, wow.
No pressure.
Yeah. I really like thinking of Xiao's work as ephemeral or memory or something like an after image or an after effect. Like, you know, one photograph is really hard to explain like a lifetime of imagery, but it does feel like the images that are in the exhibition are the representations or the things that are left over, the things that we remember. So that's why I say memory or ephemeralia. Also, reflection or reflective, I think Xiao's work is. I would say the same for Steffen too. I think I see Steffen's work as more of like a rendering of an experience, and you know, maybe a distillation or something coming something coming from an artist's hand that is a representation of an experience, but it's not the only thing left over. It's sort of a new way to present it, whereas Xiao's feels like a memory.
Okay. Nice, interesting. Smile. She said that her particularity is that you like hanging your photographs. You don't like it on the walls because you don't like the stability of white walls. You like walking through the photograph. I would love to know what's the particularity for Steffen. Like, what's that recurrent theme that comes? What is your particularity of your art?
Particularity. Actually, would it be okay if I answer a slightly different question?
Yes.
So I really would like, I wanted to talk about what you were just saying with the wall versus like hanging things in the space subject, and the way that our work kind of connected in that way. So one thing that I thought is really interesting that has come up as I've like walked through the space, and like family and friends have come out, and you know, I've gone with them and we walk through the space and talk about it. And even as I've been taking pictures of the space to kind of record it, I noticed that the way everything is hung in the space, it's like, depending on where you are in the gallery, each photo has like a whole totally different context. And I think because we were putting our work into the space at the same time, essentially, and kind of going back and forth, and because it's not all lined up on the wall, there was sort of like all the work and how it's in the space is like relies on all the other work. So it kind of is like it's kind of like a network, or like the composition of the space as a whole all depends on all the parts. And I think that kind of makes the the whole like more important than the parts, maybe, or something more than the parts, than the individual pieces, which I think is kind of different than I don't know what I'd normally see in a gallery space. I think we talked a lot about the idea of like quote unquote dancing through the space, which is like, because stuff is not along the wall, people move through the space differently, and like people even experience each other socially like in the gallery space in a different way, because they have to stand up or like squat down or like look at stuff from an angle. And I thought that's unique. And another thing is like I almost see this exhibition a little bit as like a physical manifestation of like a social media account. Like Gabe had in the past had used the word diaristic, like to say that it's a bit like reading somebody's journal. And that's a lot of what I think social media does or is. It's like a way that people want to share their inner life with other people. And so I think like this physical space is almost like walking into somebody's kind of social media, except it's like actually social because you're with people, or it can be. And I think a lot of my work is connected with that of like trying to share or connect with people in an intimate way through like the mode of visual stuff that you can share like non-verbally, I guess, something like that. But a bit like social media in that way. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And Smile told me you do ceramics. So you had 12 plates of ceramics with Chinese zodiac signs on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean there were actually 6. I'm still working on it. It's still in progress. So at the end there will be 12, and I pull a lot of like symbolism and imagery from Chinese culture because I love it. It reminds me of home. I kind of feel like China's like 80%, 75% home for me, and yeah, I'm interested in that kind of stuff. So that's where that came from for me. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You said something very interesting about the open diary. When I saw Smile's work in Mauritius, she had like emails, messages on the walls in Mauritius. And when I read those texts, it was really intimidating because all of her emotion felt raw. And I can see that there's a lot of her wordings behind you guys. Smile. I know it's something very difficult to express ourselves through words. Can you tell us more about like what it means for you to share that other part of art, writing through words? So can you tell us more about, was it easy or difficult, challenging?
I think this time doing this show was pretty challenging because it's different from the show in Mauritius that I was showing my emails to Marvin. And I wanted to do something new. I kind of don't want to repeat that, and nor that we really have the like the stickers that Kodan Art was giving me. So it was like kind of I also know that I want to write something because you encouraged me so much in terms of like, it's like you actually read it and a lot of other people actually read it, and I think it really in some ways like brings like stimulations to the space because people are not just looking at photographs, they're like reading and kind of peeking through someone's life, and that's kind of exciting in some ways. And that, like what you said in your article, and just like last time we talked, it was really encouraging for me because just having someone like you who just made me feel like a stranger can possibly care about another stranger And another, like, that kind of motivates me to continue that, like sharing this part of myself that is more direct than photography to other people, because writing can be shaped in whatever ways you want it to be. And this time I think what I did was we had these blocks and I were able to write on them. So I just wanted to write about what happens, like when I think about my relationship with people or the other connections that I have that feels impossible to me, that now that looks back, and connecting dots with all the past interactions and meeting Stefan and meeting Gabe, and also what happens to me after I graduated, like all that lifeline, puzzle them together into something that I felt is relevant to the topic of who I am, what I want to present to people other than my photographs, and how I think people relate to each other. So connecting back to the topic of the show, Impossible Souls, all that I think is like, all that kind of prompts me to write what I wrote for this show. And to be very honest, it was very hard because when I was writing it, I was telling Gabe, I was like, this is the most useless shit. Like, nobody's ever gonna read it. And I still get very self-conscious, and I don't even know if people actually read it or if it actually brings something to people in the end of the day. But I do think, like, there is a reason that I did it, and I kind of hold on to that reason, and just like I felt like it's something I wanted to do, and maybe just do it and see how I feel about it. And right now I still feel like not exactly comfortable with it, but I think it adds something to the show that I don't exactly know what it is. And but it kind of definitely, like, what I can say is that people do get to know me better through these words than just looking at my photographs, because I feel like these photographs, they are sort of an extension of me through how I see things, but they're not exactly directly about me. And I think that's all I kind of know so far, or I will never really feel exactly comfortable with what I share. I might never really feel completely comfortable with it. But I think it's a choice. It's just a neutral choice. There's no necessary good or bad about it. It's just about what you decide to share and what people would absorb in their capacity.
I would love to ask you something about Marvin, because I know the impact of Marvin on your art has been tremendous, because the way you talked about him several times and through your interactions on the emails, what would you say has been his impact on your art?
I think, so for the context, Marvin Heiferman, he is the, what's it called? I think he's the editor for Nan Golden's photography book, The Ballad of Sexual Dependency. And he is kind of famous, but like his social account, his Instagram is called Why We Look. And it's about like right now, for the past 3 years, it has been about this documentation of how he feels every day since his partner passed away. And this journey of grief and towards somebody who's your life partner who passed away, that you are deeply in love with. And you just like see through his heartbreak of this person who is like very out there in the art scene. I got connected to him because I was that was last year, January. I first got interact to his social media through this class that I have. It's a photography class, and we were talking about archives, and the teacher was like, oh, you should look into this account called Why We Look, because it's archive of grief. And I looked into the account, and it was just so heartbreaking, and I can't really look at it twice because it's literally about someone dying and looking at like someone reflecting on someone they love who died. And I didn't really look back to the account for like a year or two until last year, January, when I was going through a really bad breakup. I broke up with my ex, and it was really, really painful because I love him so much, and it was like really heartbreaking, and I don't really know how to cope with it. So I messaged Marvin on Instagram, and I was like, I'm also dealing with grief. Can we talk about it? And he called me, and we called each other. So in the end, we were able to talk about our grief and experiences. And he told me that to get back to myself, I really need to start doing something I love. And by that time, I was in New York City for the first time, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And he was like, what is something that you love? And I was like, I like to take photos. And he's like, why don't you go out and take photos every week and send it to me? So I started emailing him every week with what's going on in my life, plus all the folders of photos that I took that week. And we emailed for like maybe 60 weeks. And it was a journey of meeting someone who you've never met before, who shared different kinds of grief, but the same kind of like, there's a togetherness, and like we can go through it together. And someone who is like way above my age, he's like about 70, and I'm 23. And by that time I was like 21. So it was just knowing that someone is with me is such an experience, and especially someone who is so kind of like famous out there, who is also going through this like very human emotions that is very different from me, but also I feel very connected based on this very basic things. And it doesn't matter if he is a 70 years old man, or like someone younger than me, or someone a little older than me, like it doesn't really matter. But we were able to really talk to each other through those emails in some ways. Maybe not fully understand each other, but we were able to update each other on those like very little details in our life. But to go back to your question on how that impacted me as an artist, I don't really know, but I think it opened myself up to more possibilities to talk to new people or more people, or like kind of like lowering my expectations and knowing in the end of the day that we're just all human, and we all go through similar experiences or emotions, and there are something fundamental that connects us in the end of the day. And it wouldn't really matter if it's Marvin, but I'm lucky that it is also Marvin. But because it's Marvin, I was able to connect to way more people after Marvin, in my daily basis, like how I talk to people, or how I go on social media and interact with people with like openness and genuineness and feeling connected. I think it opens a window for me to be brave and to feel that I could be cared about by strangers. I think his kindness and his openness towards me was a really good start for me to be more vulnerable to other people who I don't know. It could be someone who's very famous. It could be someone who's not. It could be just my audiences. And I think it's an entrance to a tunnel, if I have to describe it a certain way. Those emails are definitely something that helped me to be the way I am right now. And I wouldn't be able to write the things that I write on the blogs for this show if it wasn't for Marvin helping me with dealing with my grief and responding to my email every week. I wouldn't have the courage to do what I do right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Gabe, let's talk to something. So you work with artists. So I think it can be difficult because of different artists and everyone has a different kind of emotion or approaches art differently. How has it been to work with artists, and what's your favorite part about it?
I'll start with my favorite part, but I think it's really just like giving up control, and it feels like really free, almost better than making my own work, just because I'm able to not be so critical and really let in other people's ideas and other people's ways of living and ways of doing things. You know, growing up, I always had this notion that things were done a certain way, and you know, if you don't do it that way, it's wrong or bad. And just working with other artists has really helped me personally to exercise my ability to like lose control a little bit, or just not feel like I'm doing something wrong, or kind of seeing other people's ways of doing things. Yeah, so I really enjoy that. I think also it feels good to be in this position as an artist myself. I really like the term visual culture producer as a way to describe what artists do, but also as a way to describe how artists can support other artists in their work that they do. So I urge everyone to also be your own artist, but then also be a producer for other artworks and other exhibitions, be a curator, be all of these things all at once. I think, yeah, it just is almost like a better, me being who I am and my subjectivity. I think it's a better use of my time and space to be producing work that shares another voice and like something else other than what I'm making. Not to say that I don't think my work is important, but it just feels like a really good use of time and space and energy to produce people's work for them.
Okay, thank you. Steffen. Yes, I would like to ask you something. What does this show means to you? Like as an artist, doing art for ourselves and showcasing it to the world, I think it's different, or maybe not. But why is doing shows important as an artist, or for you?
Okay. Well, I think the first thing is that this is not my, I have shown, I guess, in smaller settings before, but this was really my first show in a gallery. So it was a big learning experience for me. I think some of what turned out to be really exciting about it was very different than what I thought it was gonna be. A little bit to Gabe's point, one of the things that I liked the most is the feeling of working with other people and being part of a team. I think with visual art in particular, I don't know why, but it's the idea of like you should make work by yourself and, you know, and do the entire thing by yourself and take all the credit for yourself. And that's normally like, I think how visual artists especially, are marketed, you know, compared to like music, where it's typical to be part of a band. You know, you have 3 or 4 other people, you work together, you're part of a team, or like maybe musicals or making films, you know, all of those are like big team efforts that don't just have, you know, one person at the middle. So I think one thing that I really loved, or that the show process meant to me, was like I got to work with I got to work with the ceramic studio. I got to work with the Center for Contemporary Printmaking. I got to work with these different people who could give me really good ideas and show me how to do things I was trying to achieve. And I could work with them, towards a goal. And I could work with Xiao and I could work with Gabe.
Oh my God. It's so bad. Oh my God. I have to film this, which I'm filming right now.
And also, we wanted to bring in musicians and as well as like some of our other artist friends. We had people come in and do poetry reading.
I am here looking for one friend. Waiting to find.
The idea was like, we were just trying to, one of the most fun and meaningful parts to me was creating something that it's more than just pictures or images or like exchanging a product. It's like, I think what really stood out to me as sort of the magic, if I could call it that, is like the way that, connected to the theme of the show is like the way that people connect with each other over things. And so like, I guess the story that's kind of expresses this the best for me is there was a huge rainstorm on the day of the show was supposed to happen, and it had to get canceled. So it was on a Friday night, and the opening got canceled because there was like severe flooding in New York, and and people couldn't even. Xiao was stuck in Manhattan, like people couldn't even get to the location. Everyone was like, people turned around and like drove home. They drove about 3 hours and then just went home because they couldn't. The water was deep. But there were a bunch of my friends and family who still made it out, and we just ended up going and like eating pizza. And I happened to have some of my works like in the trunk of the car, and I took my works and just like passed them out to people while we're eating pizza, and we're talking about it and just having a great time. And and at the end of the night, like, it was people from all different parts of my life too that had never met each other, and they all got to meet each other, and we just had like a great time. And like, and that's what was really special to me, or that's one of the things, was just like the way I connected, the way art allowed me to connect with people, and the way I watched people connect with each other who even it didn't really have anything to do with me, but it was like an excuse for. And I think also, meeting Gabe, meeting Xiao, and the show being an expression of like those connections as well. Like, yeah, so I guess, like I said, this was my first show, but I think going forward, I would love for that to continue to kind of be the emphasis of, or something I pursue, is like, how can this sort of activity be a vehicle for people to come together, I guess, and to connect and to interact and see each other in a way that you might not get to in day-to-day life, something like that.
Hi. How are you?
But it's tough to.
I'm usually the one that goes to art exhibitions alone, and I love that process to go and just be on my own and enjoy the different arts. How is it in America? How do people enjoy art or consume art from the point of view of artists? And yeah, I would love to know that.
I can start, I guess. I think it's just like different. I'm not so familiar with Mauritius and culture, like art culture there, but I know the US is a lot bigger as just the size of the country. So I think it varies a lot between New York City and even say New Haven, which is only 50 miles away, less. So I'd say really it spans from like commercial, like collectors just really being pushing art as decoration, and then there is this other side, like how Stefan was talking just now, about an initiative for art to like bring people together and bring almost like what you see on the walls isn't the most important thing in the room. It's actually us that's just being together is the most important thing. Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you all think too.
I have something to say. So I think I can just talk about maybe my show in Mauritius and this show, like the differences maybe. Because yeah, that's all I know as well. Is like I think for the show Home is a Concept in Kodan, we were trying to have an opening, but the opening was also keep postponing because of flooding. And yeah, and then I don't think we really had an opening. And then people just came, and I pop by sometimes, you know, I was there to try to talk to some people to see how they feel. I think it was like the vibe that I was getting from the show was like it was really chill because it was like kind of hidden in a spot that behind the elevator, and you go in and it's like a basement kind of scene, and everybody just go there and they play the piano, and then they hang out, and it's like a very communal thing. I feel like, at least what I see in Mauritius is like people go to shows together to see it, or at least when I talk to people, they're always kind of in a group. And yeah, and I think a lot of people left me notes on the thing that I want them to write on, and that was really nice. It felt like people were just maybe easier to talk to in some ways. And in the galleries in the US, I find it really hard to talk to people and really interact with people, at least like galleries that I've been to really like get in depth with someone about the art itself. At least the galleries in New York, that's how I felt. But with this show, another thing that I noticed about myself is I often get very overwhelmed in opening, that I like run away. And this time in the opening, I also ran away because I was too overwhelmed. And I wanted to talk to everybody, but at the same time, I was like, they don't need to talk to me. They can just see my work. So I actually like ran away for like an hour to eat pizza with some friends. And was actually Steffan's friend. And then, yeah, I felt like it was too overwhelming for me. But also the space the show is in is actually not really like a gallery space. It's called Creative Arts Workshop. So I would say it's more like a school, and classes are going on here. It's on the second floor. Like we can show you later on the like just the landscape of it. But I think that also plays a role in how the show is exhibiting here, like how different, you know, the atmosphere here than in Kodan Art Center, because Kodan Art Center is like for art, do art, the biggest in Mauritius. But this one is like, it's an education space. So you come here and you kind of see things, but you also, there's classes going on. So it takes a certain kind of people to come here. I think definitely a crowd. But same thing with like Mauritius. I think with this space, I don't think it's very traditional gallery setting. And I think it, like, I'm actually like, I was surprised how many people came at the opening, and I do not know how many people came after the opening. In some ways, I kind of wish there's more interaction, like with people that I did not see in person, to really like email them or like have someone texting me. But I feel like it's almost like less interactive than I expected after opening. But that's just how I feel.
I think there is a culture in New Haven specifically where New York is a little different, where artists might, or just patrons of the arts might go to a show that they have no idea of who the artist is. It's almost like their friends invited them, or it's a social gathering. Whereas in New Haven, it feels more, and just from a little experience I've had here living in Connecticut, it feels like more friends go and see their friends' artwork and maybe not anyone else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe that is the case.
Yeah, maybe one more thing. Oh, yeah, or we can move on.
No, you. I would say, and you.
Oh, okay, and okay. So yeah, I think one other thing that came to mind is like, I think, you know, both for Xiao and myself, like when we have gone to the galleries together just to go look at art and whatever, we often complain about how it feels and how the space is. Like, it's very impersonal. It's very, you kind of feel behind glass. It's very like you have to kind of, you shuffle along the wall like in a line, and you awkwardly have to stand next to people, and you don't know when, you know, they're going to move, and people don't talk, and you're not supposed to make noise, and there's nowhere to sit, and it's uncomfortable. And really, like, literally the feeling of walking out of a museum and being like, oh, like I can breathe again, like I'm out of the, you know, out of the crypt. So I think we really talked about how can we make it not feel like that. And back to the topic of like, you know, what you were saying, what Xiao was saying about people hanging out in the gallery in Mauritius and playing the piano and just chill, like the idea that we would like there to be more public spaces where you can just be as a person. Like, there aren't that many institutions, at least I think in the United States, where that's acceptable. Like maybe the library, maybe like a big public train station, public parks. That might be it. You know, there's most places you have to go and spend money, and there's a particular reason why you got to be in that space. So just the other day, we actually went to a house temple, like an informal like Buddhist monastery, and we were talking with the nuns who stay there, and they were basically saying something very similar. They're like, we don't want people to come to the temple to feel stressed or to like feel like they have to have a burden of doing X, Y, and Z activity. She's like, you know, most people in the United States just need to go somewhere and take a nap. They just need a nice place to go and relax and take a nap. She's like, that would be the best, you know, most spiritual activity you could do in a way. And I think like that's similar to what we wanted to achieve, was like, can people just come into the space and feel happy and feel like a sense of warmth, and have, you know, one thing I think Xiao did that was really brilliant, that from her show in Mauritius, was putting furniture for people to lie down and sit in the space. I think that's like really big to me. And I think that's really like kind of a game changer in terms of just that's a big thing for like how we experience art, or how we think about experiencing art, how we exist in a space. Yeah, I think ideally in the future would love to try to create more create more situations where people can have those kinds of interactions with each other in that kind of informal, connected, intimate way, that kind of thing. Yeah.
It's really interesting what you said, because I think sometimes art seems like inaccessible for people that are not
Yes.
artists. So
Yes.
yeah, it looks like inaccessible, but once I think you do that first step to just try to discover the artist and their universe, I think it becomes more like accessible, I would say.
Yeah.
And what I enjoyed about Home is a Concept, the show, the exhibition, it felt homey. It felt like home. There was like places you could sit. I really enjoyed that show. Yeah, she did a great job. It would be great if we could have like a little visit, and maybe you can share a bit about the work, maybe the work process with some bits and pieces about the show.
To walk through the space and see
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
We have a virtual tool. I have
Okay.
a question. Like, if you had to choose something from the art exhibition, like something that you really enjoy, can you show it to us? Like, each one of you, like something. It can be a photograph, a ceramic, a painting.
Okay, like everybody pick one thing and
Yes, pick one thing and
okay, sure.
try.
Sure. Yeah, I can go first. I'm gonna pick this. Oh, is that yeah. So this is like a 7-foot tall block. And Xiao and I painted it together like the night before the show. And it's one of my favorite things in here. I just think it's really beautiful and and fun and kind of tasty. Like it's just it looks very edible. It's very and I don't know, we just had it was just fun to make. It was fun to make. There was no stress. I yeah, I love this piece. It was fun to make something together at the same time with another person. Yeah.
Nice. Impossible Souls.
Yes.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All
right,
my
your turn,
idea.
Xiao.
I really want to talk about this. It was really difficult to like wash the paint off hands after, so we had paint on our hands for like the next 15 days. I think I really like the outer,
Okay.
and the corner and the lights and the ignore these bags, but like just this corner has been really nice just to see it. Because personally, I've seen like most of the things on this table in Stefan's house, like his basement, and but like seeing it in here is like feels kind of different. It almost kind of just brings me back to like a familiar place, that like making gallery feel less white walled, less cubicle, or like it felt more like home, that this thing is here, like all the other like things that we kind of gathered is like here. But the lights are also like, I think the lights being here is also really interesting in a sense that it's very artificial, but it's not, because it's shot by phone with like this is like natural light, but now it's projected like through this like artificial projector that yeah, I just feel like there's something about it that is still very natural to me, and I can't really describe what it is, but I just like it being there, and it seems like it's trying to talk to me about something. Same with the altar. Like the altar is something that you just have to comprehend by yourself, and everything just feels like a little outside of what quote unquote art is, but also a part of life that is not really described by metaphorical like art, if that's like metaphorical, but it's not really described by like quote unquote art or just even words. It's just something else. Yeah.
Thank you.
Gabe.
I really love the altars too, but I'm gonna I think I want to like draw out the comparison or difference between the photographs. So we're walking through, and there's some photographs that are just floating, and the photographs are Xiao's work, specifically made by Xiao, and then the ceramics.
Gabe made the hangers.
I did. The ceramics and some of the larger photographs or pieces that are actually hung on the wall are by Steffen. And I think just drawing out the difference between, well, I guess first, I really am enjoying the way the photographs function as like the opening scene in Nightmare Before Christmas when the camera is like standing in these trees and there's like a different holiday. It almost feels like beyond consciousness, or like when you're actually in your mind and you're like kind of looking around, what are you seeing, rather than like looking out of your eyes or experiencing how we normally do. And then these sort of being everyday moments. And then I really enjoy the difference between Steffen's work that feels longer lasting, or something that is preserved in glass or fired, you know, being secured to the wall as well. I really enjoy the difference between those two ways of producing things. And I think it is special to have those two instances in one space.
Great. Thank you. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time you gave us for the podcast. So thank you so much for sharing about your art, the thinking process, the work behind. Really grateful. And I hope that if one day I come in America, I will be able to to come see a show. If you had to say like a little last word to people listening to you or wanting to know more about your work, what would you say?
Come to see our show.
Hug your grandma. Yeah, I second hug your grandma.
So where can people find your work? Smile, I think, is on Instagram. Is there any ways people can find your work, maybe connect with you guys?
Okay. Well, I think we have
Your website.
is my website that is on my Instagram. There's the art space Instagram, but
It's kind of, yeah, like ArtSpace Instagram. So we do have a website that I could send, or just maybe I'll send it. We're connected in a chat, right?
Yeah.
I can just send that to you. We do have the ArtSpace Instagram, which is lacking a little bit right now, but the website is updated. And then just personally, your work too, because this won't be up forever, of course. Yeah.
I also my Instagram as well. 1111 coconut and I'm putting together a Squarespace, which I hope will be complete by the end of the month. So
A website, great. We can have a look at your work. So thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure to know more about what you do. And I hope that maybe we will talk one day, and keep up the amazing work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm on Xiao's Instagram, and we're at Impossible Souls. My name's Gabriel Sacco. I'm here with Xiao and Steffen, and we're at Creative Arts Workshop. I am visual culture producer, former visual culture producer of ArtSpace New Haven, and we produced the show together called Impossible Souls. So we're going to do a quick walkthrough, and you'll hear from us. Okay, I'm gonna turn the camera around now.
So this is the first piece that you see when you come into space.
Please mind the art in the gallery.
We had to move it for fire code reasons, but it's,
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
okay. I had this in my senior show. I had this in my senior show, and then I just thought like keep getting washed away, and so it has. It's like hardly you can't tell what it is anymore, but it's cemeteries in Mauritius. So the first thing you'll see is this block, which has been like all my confession thoughts on how I feel like I've been connecting with people these past years, and it includes like stories like of my like first year best friend in Bennington, and then my situationships and my
Screenshots.
yeah, my screenshots of like messages of people, like from people, and heartbroken stories, and good omens.
Good omens, yeah.
And fan stuff, and dogs and cats and flowers and Alyssa. And a lot of Alyssa. And emails to some people, and anecdotes, and memes, and Steffan memes, and grandma stuff. Yeah, we can go around, and
Like one thing that was cool that I don't think we planned out at the beginning was that at the end we both got a block. Like you had a block and I have a block, and then we have like a block that's the shared block.
this is Alyssa.
Yeah.
That's my bestie. And Gabe made the frames. They're fantastic.
Yeah, we made these really cool frames to hang the work
Yeah.
off
I
of.
think it's one of the best methods I've ever experienced. And it was, yeah, he's fantastic. And what else? So there's Ruben, and many other people, news. And I hang some photos that I printed the last day of college because I was trying to use up Bennington resources before I left. And it works, I mean, because I was like, oh, am I just gonna show old works all the time? But it's not true, I am actually showing new works. And, yeah, I think maybe we should talk about how this works.
Sure. So it didn't really work the way that I intended. But there's this piece of tape on the ground, and basically my hope was that people would take all these little squares and rearrange them to make images, and then take photos of them and send them to me, and I was going to make a collage out of those images. But nobody did, and they all just ended up in a pile. So yeah, maybe this doesn't work, but it was fun.
What are they supposed to do? Like,
So
rearrange?
yeah, you can rearrange them and just make a collage, just like a bunch of colors that look nice together, basically. And I had experimented with making some different collages.
I literally saw people taking videos of this. How can they not send it to you?
I don't know. People definitely took photos, but they just didn't send it to me. I don't know. Some people said the email address didn't work, but it's definitely my email address. So IDK. But it was fun. I like the idea of a piece that's interactive, that people can come in and make their own art and something like that.
What is this?
Just fun.
I don't understand. I don't understand this person. And where do we go? You should talk about this. The bells are prayer bells from Mauritius.
As they say, all art is a self-portrait. So, this is the self-portrait. Moving on.
This is like the sketchiest. And we should probably talk about. You don't want to talk about that because you want to talk about that.
All art is a self-portrait. Moving on. These are just some works on paper. Chalk pastel, colored pencil, jelly pens. Yeah, mixed paint. Random fluids, stuff I found in my kitchen, cleaning chemicals, just whatever I had at hand. Yeah.
Sounds so sketchy.
It was fun.
Thanks, Gabe. Gabe is our cameraman.
Yeah.
Gabe is partner. This book is about the title of the show, which is like inspired by this really long song, 30-minute song written by Xiao and Steffen. It's called Impossible Soul, and we wrote this blog about the song, about how we feel about it, and what does it mean to us, and just like how it relates to the theme of the show.
You should go listen to it if you haven't. Just go in your room and turn off the lights and use headphones and listen to it and see what you think. But this block is kind of like in the middle of the wings of the space.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I like to think of it as like where our work converges and becomes something like bigger than, it's like 2 plus, or like 1 plus 1 equals, more than 2, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we put the title on the front there, and we finger painted this. It was great. I loved it. Yeah, we got covered in paint.
Yeah, it was hard to wash.
It was hard to wash off.
It's like a middle point, like you stop here and it's like emphasizing on the title of the show, like what does it mean, all that. Like going back to the points, like people.
Hold on.
And like while you walk through the images, like Gabe was helping us like to see how can people walk through them better, and
like every single photo, depending on where you look at it from, it has different stuff in the background, kind of framing it, and it feels different. Like there's like an almost infinite number of angles you can look at each photo from, which is really cool.
You don't want to talk about it, don't you?
No, I can talk about it.
All artworks are self-portraits.
But we should talk. This is the nap area.
And that's the altar.
Yeah. So these are all things from my house. Not all, actually. Some of these are things from my house. Xiao brought some things. But I like collecting stuff from nature, from like traveling, from people give me gifts. People like to give me rocks, If you have a person like that in your life, you should hang on to them. And so the idea was to kind of like recreate a space in my room, kind of here, to make it kind of comfortable. And this projected light thing on the wall here is actually, I used to lifeguard at the YMCA, and sometimes they'd have baptisms, and this light actually would appear on the ceiling over the person getting baptized. This happened more than once, and I would record it with my phone. So it's like reflected light from water, but it means a bunch of things to me. If you stare at it long enough, it looks like a dancing person, I think. This is it's a scroll from my house. My art teacher from high school did this calligraphy for me. Aisha, very special person to me. Classically trained Chinese painter, amazing artist. So it's nice to have a little piece of something she made here. This is a video of birds. I won't get way into it, but the basic idea was trying to share an experience I had where I felt really excited about birds on a train platform one time. Yeah. Gabe, would you like to say something about the nap area because you commented on it
Yes.
before?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did I say? Yeah, I think it's a great place to hang out and chill and just like rest. One thing we had talked about was being in a gallery space and not feeling so sterile and so like forced to stand or forced to look, forced to see. More so to just be in the space and to sort of let it make more passively seep into perception or way of seeing. So yeah, I think like I'm really excited about being in front of this light as well as a way to describe something that's not tangible or not so concrete, rather amorphous and able to be maybe only touched upon for a second or seen for a second. Yeah.
Like relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like relationships. Just another example of how we're seeing what impossible souls means.
Are you holding the camera?
Yeah. Would you like to, Xiao, would you like to talk about this section? I can't talk. Gabe, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this was photographs that Steffan took, and thinking about connecting through visual imagery. I like thinking about what imagery are we putting forth. So maybe a moment of meditation. These are like a matrix of incense. And then Steffan installed a series of photographs here to mimic social media.
Yeah, and I just want to add that this section of writing, I wanted to share something really personal, and I did. And one funny thing is that so far my experience has been nobody has said anything to me about anything that I wrote. Nobody who came out to the show, my family and friends, and yeah, no one has said anything about it. So anyway, but I really, one thing that I was really inspired by with Xiao's writing was just trying to be open and vulnerable and let people see who I am, and that can be difficult for me. So it felt very important, and I'm very proud of how this section went. And I wrote it like 10 minutes before the show started, as Gabe can tell you. So yeah, but
Yeah, I think it's important to bring that up too, as Xiao said in the last interview we had. Being direct with art making seems so important right now, especially when things like misinformation can happen. What does a photograph mean? It's so subjective, and when you have something important to say, maybe the best way to say it is just the way everyone understands, or most people understand through writing, or speaking, or reading. So yeah, I think it was like a necessary component to the exhibition as a way just to really be ephemeral and deal with in memory, and then also come back and say like, no, these are real concrete instances that we're talking about, and it's not just about the act of taking a picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who did I film?
Whatever you want.
I cried a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
In front of the wall. Did you cry as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's six plates. Steffen's 6 plates, porcelain, painted. Steffen, maybe you can talk about the content.
Sure. I made these in concert with Gene Elton Ceramics and Round Hill Pottery Collective, which was really fun and exciting for me. Ceramics is not really my medium. I had to learn a lot. I really came up with like a concept that was way too ambitious for my actual skill set and knowledge base, and it took like over a year to figure out how to make these because we didn't have this color. We didn't really have a good way to get detailed line work on this surface, and all that took a lot of time to figure out how to do to get a certain look. This is a chrysanthemum flower. This piece is a prototype. Each plate corresponds with one of the 12 animals in the Chinese zodiac. There's no animal in this one. It's supposed to be tiger, but it's not. It's incomplete, basically. This is a poem from a song in an anime that I really like, and it's about friendship. And also, I just want to shout out to Zora Rawlings at Make Haven, who gave me some really crucial advice about how to make these, and also getting the color that we got. She gave me some really good, color advice that was, really crucial.
For the ceramics.
For the ceramics, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
And we painted your nails.
Yeah, we painted.
So we also have
There's
another small altar here behind some photographs.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about Paul.
Yes, please. Yeah.
talk about what? Paul?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we have to talk about Paul. Paul at the opening did this installation, but also this endurance performance piece at that angle over there, and he trapped himself with threads and writing things that he thinks are important for the show on like little pieces of paper, and put it on the threads, and like just trapped himself in this thread wall. And then he like eventually like tears everything down and put it on his neck, and he reads it like a poem. Like he just selected like each pieces that he writes and put a poem together, and afterwards and shaked it off afterwards, sort of a thing. Like, do you want to add
a butterfly coming out of a cocoon?
Yeah. If you want to add anything to it.
But this is Paul, right?
Yeah, this is Paul.
Yeah, those are photos of Paul.
And he's really legendary, and he has like this notebook necklace. Yeah, we miss him.
If you're watching this, Paul.
We miss you. And you want to talk about the last piece, or like the last thing?
So it's just a small altar here, but really for the use to sign your name in our book. And we also have zines left from the opening, from readings. We had a great opening with poetry readings, and Paul's performance. And then also a QR code scannable QR code with a playlist.
We made a
that Xiao and
playlist.
Steffen made. And then just some additional works by Steffen as well in a book.
We're showing this. Genius.
So yeah, I think we're at Creative Arts Workshop at 80 Audubon Street in New Haven, Connecticut, and in this show, Impossible Souls, in conjunction with Art Space New Haven. I'm with Steffen Pollock and Xiao Ma, and the show is open until the 27th of October, so come by.
Okay. I think this is it. Bye, friends.